Hello, everyone. Welcome to this lesson on currency pairs. Remember, Forex is not for everybody. Past performance is not an indication of future results. We are not investment advisors. So if you need advice of any kind for an investment, please contact a professional. What we are doing here is for information purposes. Right, okay, so since we have that out of the way, let's carry on. Currency pairs. Okay, I think we discussed currency pairs earlier in our series for real beginners. Okay, so what are currency pairs, right? Currency pairs are quotations of two foreign currencies with the value of one currency being quoted against another. This is the definition you will find in Investopedia. If they've changed it, I don't know, but pretty much this describes what currency pairs are, right? Two currencies paired together, one determining the value of another. Okay, we've discussed this in detail in the series of 7 videos. It's on the channel. All right, so we go on. So we have examples here: the US dollar, Japanese yen, British pound, US dollar, and so on. So we carry on. Okay. Now, within the context of the Forex markets, hundreds of currencies are in trade, but there are about 7 or 8 that stand out. Some say 7, some say 8. I'll explain that. You have the US dollar, the British pound, the euro, the Swiss franc, the Canadian dollar, the Japanese yen, notice I skipped, the Australian dollar. Some Forex tutors stop here, right? But I consider the New Zealand dollar also a currency of significance. So that's why my own list is 8. I added the New Zealand dollar. So we have the US dollar, British pound, euro, the Swiss francs, Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, and the Japanese yen. These are the major currencies, the dominant currencies in the markets. Okay? All right. So they are currencies by themselves. Now we'll begin to pair them. Okay? So in their pairings, you have 3 groups. Currency pairs come in 3 groups. You have the majors, the crosses or minors, and the exotics. Okay? Let's get straight into it. The majors. Those 8 currencies I mentioned to you, pair them with the US dollar. The US dollar is one of them, right? Pair the rest of them with US dollar. You have your major currency pairs. The Euro USD, the British Pound USD, the USD Japanese yen, the USD Swiss franc, the USD Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar US dollar, the New Zealand dollar US dollar. Okay? So you can see that each of these, of the ones among the major currencies we mentioned earlier on, are here paired with the dollar. So this group of currencies, as they are paired with the dollar, are referred to as major currency pairs. We mentioned the euro, USD. We mentioned the British pound, US dollar. We mentioned the Japanese yen, the US dollar, Japanese yen. We mentioned the Swiss franc, the US dollar, Swiss franc. We mentioned the Canadian dollar, the US dollar, Canadian dollar. We mentioned the Australian dollar, the Australian dollar, US dollar. We mentioned the New Zealand dollar, the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Okay? So you have the major currency pairs. Then you have the crosses. Okay? For the crosses, you don't have the US dollar involved. You have the other major currency pairs, the other 7 of them, but you don't have the US dollar involved. The crosses are divided themselves into 1, 2, 3, 4 subgroups. Okay, you have the pound crosses, the euro crosses, the yen crosses, and the other crosses. Okay, we'll look at them now. For the pound cross, the rest of the major currencies paired with the pound. You have the British pound, Swiss franc. This is a major currency. British pound, Australian dollar, another major currency. The British pound, Canadian dollar, another British currency, another major currency. Then you have the British pound, New Zealand dollar. Okay, this group of crosses, this subgroup, you have the British pound in first place before the other currency, right? So there you are. Then we move on to the next, the euro crosses. Okay, in this case, again, you don't have the US dollar involved at all. The euro is your first currency, then another major currency is second. So you have the euro Swiss franc, the euro British pound, the euro Canadian dollar, the euro Australian dollar, the euro New Zealand dollar. Okay, so you have your euro cross. Then you have your yen crosses. For the yen crosses, there's a bit of a difference. Japanese yen is the second currency. The major currency is the first, then Japanese currency. A major currency, then Japanese currency. No US dollar involved here. You have the euro, Japanese yen. You have the British pound, Japanese yen. The Swiss franc, Japanese yen. The Canadian dollar, and the major currency, just like the rest, Japanese yen. The Australian dollar, Japanese yen, and the New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. Okay? Now you may ask, where are the other currencies in the world? Are we only dealing with the dollar, the British pound, the euro, the Australian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, the yen, and so on and so forth? Where are the other currencies? We'll come to them. For now, let's finish the grouping of minors. You have other crosses. For other crosses, you don't have the US dollar involved. You don't have the British pound involved. And you don't have the euro involved. You don't have the yen involved either. So the remaining major currencies are now paired among themselves. The Australian dollar, Swiss franc, the Australian dollar, Canadian yen, the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, the Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, the New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, and the New Zealand dollar, Canadian yen. Paired among themselves. Then now, To answer the question, where are the other currencies in the world? All right, you have them grouped here. There is a group of pairs referred to as the exotic pairs. For the exotic pairs, you have a major currency, then a currency from the emerging markets. Here's our example. The US dollar, Mexican yen, Mexican peso, sorry. The US dollar, South African rand, the US dollar, Russian ruble, the US dollar, Danish krona. You have the major currency, then the currency from an emerging market. These are referred to emerging market currencies, right? You can have the British pound, Mexican peso. The formula is still the same. You have a major currency and a currency from the emerging markets, right? So now you have the exotic pairs. So I think we've covered it. We've covered the major pairs, the crosses or minor pairs, and the exotic currency pairs, okay? We've covered all three of them. You can always watch the video again, and it's all there for you. You can rewind and rewind all you want until you fully comprehend.